I'm really excited for the new movie, I exclaimed with excitement. Little did I know, it would be a feature, a creature feature, featuring the creature.
What's going on, Bip Cells? Back from the dead, Snippin' here. That's right, it's me. Remember when that piece of shit Bippin shot and killed me? Yeah, well, I'm back. He's forcing me to write and record this video today because he's busy doing schoolwork and also adjusting back to life in 2024. Remember when that piece of lore was established? Anywho, there's another reason that I'm back, but I'll get to that shortly. Question. You play Dead by Daylight, right? Well, do you like dogs? You think they're cute? Well, boy, do I have the killer for you. The Hound Master. Sorry. Wrong script. Let me just, here we go. The Demogorgon. Okay, I know a lot of people think he's cute and compare him to a dog like that strange Bippin guy, but he's supposed to be scary. I'm sorry, guys, I just can't bring myself to it. He's a menacing killing machine that should be treated as such. The Demogorgon is one of many creatures originating from weirder occurrences. You remember that TV show? Oh, you call it Stranger Things here? Weirdos. Oh, right. He also isn't fond of swear words. He's just a little guy. I mean, he's a big, strong beast and a vicious, savage killer. He doesn't have time for those obscenities, right? Yeah, Stranger Things was a huge hit on Netflix, introducing elements of science fiction, but mostly horror, and so Behavior took the opportunity to get their grubby little mitts on their poster creature here. Now, the other twisted reason Bippin brought me back to life was what he called some sort of themed act. As in the show, there's a realm called the the Upside Down, where the spooky creatures originate from, which is like a flipped version of our world, but you know, like weird. So he thought of me, you know, because he considers me the weird version of him. Anyways, let's just get to discussing everyone's favorite little guy, the Demogorgon. I mean, everyone's favorite monstrous beast. The Demogorgon's power is called Of the Abyss, and works in two parts. The first we'll cover is his chase power. Demogorgon's Shred Attack. Holding the power button will charge your power, causing the Demogorgon to open up his lovely little flower mouth. You can cancel this by letting go of the power button, as charging it or keeping it active will slow the Demogorgon slightly. Once charged, press the attack button to execute a shred, that being a long, straight line dash attack. This thing goes pretty far, so make sure you're aiming well, because if you miss someone, you're going to have some distance to cover. Colliding with a survivor injures them for a health state and puts you in your attack cooldown. Except if you shred someone, you won't be able to really look around freely while you're cooling down. If you miss, there's a short cooldown as well, but if you collide with an object, the Demogorgon gets stunned briefly, making a very sad little guy noise. Aww. No! Menacing monster. Remember, Snippin'. You don't have to charge up your shred fully to execute an attack. You'll know when you can based on the visual distortion around your screen and you hear Demogorgon hiss. Executing a shred in the shorter time will give you a shorter dash, but it will still cover quite a bit of distance and is pretty good in loops. If you charge your power for a full second though, you'll go a lot farther, and you'll cover a pretty large distance. Just be careful when you're trying to execute a shorter dash, as if you do it too soon, you might just basic attack and look like a dummy. Also, while your shred is a straight line, you can ever so slightly adjust the angle by cranking your mouse left or right. Or, you know, your controller if you're one of those people. On top of this, your shred will break downed pallets and breakable walls. Your shred is a pretty sweet chase power. It's sufficiently strong with enough counterplay to make it a fair ability. It's the same situation with characters like Wesker, where you need to be cautious with your power around loops. Colliding with an object is easier than it seems, so make sure you have a straight shot if you plan to catch a survivor before they can make it to a pallet or window. On top of this, be aware that charging your shred is visible to survivors. They'll see your little mouth open and go screech. So a lot of the time, survivors will fake a vault or pallet to dodge your incoming shred. But just as they can fake you, you can also fake them. The glory of life. Yes, since they can see you charge your shred, one thing you should get in the habit of doing is this. Say you're looping a survivor, and you're certain they're going to vault a pallet or window. Charge your shred attack and line it up, keeping a keen eye on that survivor. If they're looking behind themselves and you assume they're gonna, fake the vault or fake the pallet, simply hold the shred a little longer while they run around like a little chicken without its head, or you can just cancel your shred and basic attack them. Since there isn't really much of a cooldown for letting go of the power button, you're able to punish survivors who are caught faking a pallet or window pretty easily. Otherwise, if you know they're 100% gonna vault, and it looks like they're doing it, or they start the animation, then just shred them. It's that simple. I like my survivors how I like my cheese. Shredded bit. The next part to your power are your portals, otherwise known as the sphincters. You can probably tell why. You start the trial with 6 of these things, and you're able to place them practically wherever you so choose. Provided you still have a portal to use, and you aren't too close to a wall or something like an exit gate, you should be able to see a portal graphic when looking at the ground. Press your secondary ability button when this graphic is visible to place a sphincter down. I'm just gonna make this easier on myself and shorten it to Sphinx. Wait a minute. Oh, like an actual sphinx, like Egyptian. These sphinx take a second or two to place down, but once done, they can't be removed by you, so make sure you're happy with where you put them. These sphinx come in 2 states, starting as inactive and activating after you use them. You will see the auras of your sphinx at all times, inactive showing in white and active showing in yellow. Inactive sphinx are not visible to survivors, and can only be interacted with by the Demogorgon. When standing on top of a sphinx, simply look at the aura of the one you want to travel to and hold the secondary ability button. This will cause you to enter the sphinx in a brief animation, traveling through the upside down speedily and coming out at the desired end. And when the Demogorgon teleports, a map-wide screech is heard by all survivors, and they will hear him emerging from the sphinx if they are nearby. When you emerge, you will have 5 seconds of the undetectable status effect, which is honestly pretty sad. I'll talk about that later. Teleporting to a sphinx not only activates the one you're teleporting to, but also the one you're traveling from. Activated sphinx can be seen by survivors, their auras being revealed to survivors when they're within a short distance from them. These active sphinx can now be sealed by survivors by approaching them and interacting with them. Sealing the sphinx... Okay, I lied. Calling these sphinx does not make it easier. This is so much harder to read. I'm going back to calling them portals. So sorry, everyone. These portals take 12 seconds to seal on your own. However, it can be done quicker if several survivors interact with it at once. Who knew all it took to seal these things was to stick your hand into the orifice and scoop out as much spaghetti as you can? Something that probably Nancy should have figured out in the first few episodes of Stranger Things. These activated portals have a 4-meter radius around them, and if a survivor enters said radius, they will gain the oblivious status effect until they leave or seal that portal. If within this 4-meter radius, survivors can be detected by the Demogorgon with killer instinct, but only when the Demogorgon is charging his power. If a portal is sealed, you will hear a sound to indicate that it's gone, making the Demogorgon extra sad. Oh, no. Luckily for you though, a sealed portal is not permanently gone, as you regain another to place and use again, essentially recycling these things. The Demogorgon's teleport can be cancelled if the portal he is trying to travel to is sealed during his animation. It sucks and it pisses me off when it happens. Final thing to note is that if you manage to begin teleporting while a survivor or multiple survivors are sealing the portal, they will instantly get kicked off the portal as you emerge. In terms of gameplay, I believe the portals serve 2 functions besides map pressure and mobility, the stronger of the 2 being info gathering. What I typically do is place my portals right next to generators, as not only does it allow me to travel between them swiftly, but it also provides me with solid info as I can see which generators are being worked on, provided the portal is active, and by charging my power. Hell, this even acts as a tiny bit of a slowdown too, as survivors can either choose to cram out the generator and risk the Demogorgon knowing where they are and being able to travel there quickly, or they can seal the portal, which will take precious time away from working on said generator. The other way these portals can be used is for pseudo-stealth. You can place these portals in sneakier spots away from the survivor's line of sight in order to try for some stealth plays. Sure, they may hear the map-wide sound of you teleporting, but you can try and utilize the brief undetectable status to get easy hits or grabs. I would only suggest taking the iridescent add-on if you try this, Red Moss, to completely remove the sounds of exiting a portal and increase the duration of the undetectable status effect when emerging by 8 seconds, making for a silent exit that makes you undetectable for 13 total seconds. Where I think the info approach is better is that the stealth is often very weak with the map-wide sound, as well as the fact that the Demogorgon's footsteps sound like you're punching a bag of wet meat through a speaker. I don't really understand Behavior's approach in attempting to add stealth options for the Demogorgon, but then having a map-wide screech to indicate he's gonna start being stealthy, accompanied by loud, banging footsteps. Also, I don't think I mentioned this before, but the Demogorgon is loud. Pretty much every action you do can be heard across the map, as basic attacking, breaking walls, pallets, and generators, shredding, and being stunned in any form causes you to roar or growl. So yeah, that's the Demogorgon's power. I think it's great, honestly, but not perfect. But who am I to say what's perfect? I love both the portals and the shred, as they are very in line with the character and the license. They're both fun to use, and they're both very fair on both ends. They seem strong, but also very counterable. I'm happy to say that the power is less akin to the issue that I had with the Xenomorph, since these two are basically both bloodthirsty, strange, otherworldly creatures. With the Xenomorph, I didn't really feel that the power was super fun, or really fitting with the license that, the character is and has, and I don't really feel like I'm playing being as the xenomorph when I play as him. In this case, while we have seen that the Demogorgon is a fast and vicious creature in the later seasons of the show, it makes more sense in this implementation of the dash attack in the portals. I don't know, I just think it's neat. I feel like if the Demogorgon had come out in modern day DBD, they would have tried to do a whole other upside down version of maps in some way, perhaps like Freddy's Dream World, but I'm honestly happy with the Upside Down being limited to just a teleportation power. It's one of those instances where Freddy Krueger having the dream world feels like him pulling you in is his domain, where he's stronger and he can do everything. Whereas in the show Stranger Things, the Demogorgon can kind of just come out of the Upside Down and it can just still kill you or ravage you or bring you into the Upside Down. So it doesn't really feel like it's home turf, even though it's where it came from. It just feels more like another place, like it doesn't gain any powers from being in there, really, does it? So yeah, I think it feels weird to think that the Demogorgon has been released quite a while back. So let's explore that further in the Stranger Things chapter released on the 17th of September 2019. It brought in the titular Demogorgon, Steve Harrington, Nancy Wheeler, and the Hawkins Laboratory map. During this time, Dead by Daylight saw a crazy spike in players, as Stranger Things was a super big hit on Netflix. These fans saw that they could play as their favorite characters, then probably got facecamp tunneled, bullied by Survive with Friends, and or cussed out in the endgame chat, dropping the game for good. However, to those that still played and were already fans, the chapter was pretty much universally loved. The characters, the perks, the map, everything was seen as a positive addition, which is why the date November 17th, 2021 gives players PTSD. On that day, due to licensing issues with Netflix, the chapter including the characters in the map were removed from the game. As a point of clarification, aside from the map, Steve, Nancy, the Demogorgon, and their perks were still in the game. They just couldn't be purchased from the store anymore, alongside any related Stranger Things cosmetics. This meant that the characters became rare to see, as newer players were unable to buy them or play as them. The only way you could do so pretty much was by buying an expensive account that had these DLCs already installed. This sucked, since the Demogorgon was a treat to go up against in-game, and thus sadly an uncommon occurrence. There was such a public outcry to bring the license back that 2 years later, on November 6th, 2023, the characters, cosmetics, and map were brought back into the game and made available to purchase again. The prior period of time was hard for Stranger Things fans, as there was no guarantee of it returning. The license was pulled by Netflix, so this also raised questions from the community during the time as to if this sort of thing could happen with other licensed chapters in the game. As a matter of fact, this same sort of thing was rumored to be happening with Leatherface when the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game was released, but those rumors were put to rest. Perhaps I'll expand upon that when he gets his own 101 video. And that really concludes the history of this chapter, so let's hop right into the Demogorgon's perks, shall we? The Demogorgon comes with its 3 personal perks: Cruel Limits, Mindbreaker, and Surge. These used to have different names when the license was taken out of the store, as Behavior wanted to keep the perks in the game and make them universal, unlinking them from their respective characters. Cruel Limits was also known as Claustrophobia, Mindbreaker was also known as Fearmonger, and Surge was also known as Jolt. Anywho, we'll start with the Cruel Limits perk. Cruel Limits activates whenever a generator is completed, blocking all vault locations on the map for survivors only for 30 seconds. These blocked vaults are shown to you in a yellow aura. This perk kinda sucks. It's a very interesting concept that I love, and I see how they're trying to implement it, but in terms of use, it isn't that great. For one, it requires generators to be completed, which is something you don't want to have happen, but also means that you'll only get use out of this a maximum of 5 times. On top of this, it requires you to get the most value out of it by being in a chase as a generator is completed, being pretty situational. It's rarer to get value out of this perk if you start chasing a survivor after a generator's already been completed, as they know beforehand to prioritize pallets or just hiding for the time being. I don't really use this perk often, but every time that I have, it hasn't really helped me all that much, so I don't know, it just seems kind of weak. If you find this perk useful, or you have some crazy play, let me know if I'm talking bullshit. The next perk is Mindbreaker. This perk makes it so that any survivor that repairs a generator will suffer from the exhausted and blindness status effect for the duration of their repairs. This effect also lingers for 5 seconds after a survivor stops repairing. This perk is actually quite good, although you probably won't see the effects in real time. It makes repairing generators more annoying than it already is for survivors, as well as prevents them from using sprint burst almost right away off a gen. The blindness status effect also helps for keeping them in the dark with what's going on, provided they decide to stick to repairing. It's not the greatest exhaustion or blindness perk, but it's still pretty useful. Good perk, honestly. Lastly, there's Surge. Surge makes it so that whenever you put a survivor into the dying state with a basic attack, any generator within 32 meters explodes, regressing instantly by 8% and continuing to regress until repaired. This perk is extremely useful on any killer that doesn't rely on special attacks to down survivors, as this will occur constantly. On top of this, the slowdown is nice, and provided you're within 32 meters, you erase the time spent walking up and damaging the generator yourself. Not much else to say other than it's generally a very useful slowdown perk. And those are the Demogorgon's perks. They're mostly just alright. I don't really have much else to say other than I kinda wish they played a teeny tiny bit more into the Demogorgon and the Upside Down's ability to affect electronics in some sort of way. I get that Surge is basically their implementation of that power, but I think it would be cool if it was integrated into the power, or some more of the perks maybe. Can you imagine if flashlights blinked in and out when you use them against the Demogorgon, like that one add-on, the flickering bulb? It would be a pretty cool and fitting little thing, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh Jesus, it got out! It's out! Everyone duck and f***ing cover! The creature I've been holding under strict containment has breached the facility, my god! Oh, never mind. It's, it's just lore time. It's lore time, baby. Lore fact numero uno. The Demogorgon has no real lore of it coming into the fog other than it's a vicious beast, and so naturally the entity wanted one, like a pet. Who's a good little boy? No. Lore fact, the 2 number. The Demogorgon was actually the first non-human killer introduced into Dead by Daylight, which I gotta give props to because every single creature killer so far has been f***ing awesome. Lore fact number 3. The Demogorgon's name, while deriving from the show Stranger Things, actually originates from Dungeons & Dragons. The Demogorgon in D&D looks like this, and the only similarity I could find was the draining of energy aspect, which I can only assume matches with the electrical interference whenever he's close. The reason the kids call the creature the Demogorgon in the show is because they are avid D&D players, and are trying to make sense of the madness that's going on by paralleling the situation to their game. Thus, they name the creature the Demogorgon. Or, I guess more so that's Eleven who does it in the scene, because she places the thing down, but you know what I mean. It's still unknown to me whether the show writers wanted the Dungeons & Dragons beast and the creature from the show to have some similarities, or if it's just the boys in the show using the circumstantial fright from the first episode to name it. Anyways, lore fact number 4, Rah! The Demogorgon is the first killer to have their terror radius music changed twice. The PTB chase music for the Demogorgon was rough, and was the first instance of the now popular idea that behavior likes to add annoying alarms, or what some people call washing machine noises, to their chase music. While fitting to have an alarm blaring to accompany an escaped creature, it really didn't sound that good. Take a listen.
Wakey, 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 it's time for school.
I am so happy they changed it to the actual bop that we got today. Lore fact number 5. Did you know that pretty much everyone and their mother refers to the Demogorgon as the most balanced and potentially best designed killer power-wise in the game? I've honestly gotta agree with them to an extent. I believe the Demogorgon's power is quite fun and fair for both sides, and I rarely find myself feeling underpowered in the instances I go against him or play as him. He's got a lot of fun mechanics and both sides usually have fun facing him. Hitting a sexy shred as the Demogorgon always feels fantastic, and likewise, faking out or just barely dodging a shred as a survivor feels like your real life just flashed before your eyes. You gotta give it to Behavior for creating such a well-loved character both balance-wise and aesthetics-wise so early into their game's life. Lore fact 6. Despite everything I just said, many Demogorgon players don't even focus on his portals. I've seen some even go the entire match without touching the portal aspect of his power. The only reason I can see as to why this might be the case is the process of actually setting them up and activating them. You gotta remember that if you're hard set on winning in Dead by Daylight, every second of the match counts. This is why people don't like setting up traps as a trapper and take, a corrupt intervention or something. While I do agree that it sometimes feels like a waste of time to set up the portals and actually activate them, the payoff is definitely worth it. Lore fact number 7. To add on to the last point, a lot of the Demogorgon's add-ons are just plain meh, mostly due in part to the fact that they all affect the portals in some way, but not really interesting ways, with some exceptions. Several players instead choose to bring the brown or yellow add-ons that affect the shred in some way, whether that be the hit, miss, or pallet break cooldowns. While I do agree that most of the Portal add-ons aren't incredibly fun or enticing, the Lifeguard Whistle is one that I constantly take whenever I get the chance because of just how great it is. This add-on, at the time of making this video, reduces the area of effect that the portals give off to survivors by 1 meter, making it a 3 meter radius. The good stuff comes with the other effect, being that the Demogorgon will automatically detect them within the radius with Killer Instinct, without having to hold down his power. This is such a great tool because you basically have constant info without slowing yourself down by charging your power, just to check if people are nearby. This add-on also assists in stopping survivors from getting rid of your portals, since it will notify you right away, meaning you can teleport to the portal to try and interrupt survivors who are attempting to remove it. As of the time I'm making this video, it seems that this add-on is getting changed in a later patch, which will instead just give the Demogorgon a few more portals. Fuck, man, what the hell? Lore fact number 8. That psychopath Bippin has been feeding this guy carrot slices because he thinks he's some sort of pet. This guy is clearly a carnivore. He chops on survivors' heads in his mori, for God's sake. To spite Bippin, I will feed him some meat. Here you go, buddy. I mean, beast. There, you see? Bloodthirsty creature. Lore fact number 9. The Demogorgon originally had 2 achievements you could unlock, being Adept Demogorgon. This one was earned by achieving a merciless victory as the Demogorgon, taking only his 3 teachable perks. The other achievement, Savage Takedown, was earned by putting 30 survivors total into the dying state with your shred attack. These achievements were lost in time as they were taken out of the game when the chapter left in 2021. Even when it came back in 2023, the achievements didn't, which would have been nice to know that one time I tried and succeeded in doing the Adept achievement only to find out it didn't exist anymore. Lore fact number 10. Holy. Steve and Nancy quickly became some of the most popular survivors, but surprisingly became some of the most annoying as well for killers. You see, for some odd reason, Nancy players had a reputation of being some of the slipperiest, most scummy douchebags imaginable, whereas Steve players had a half-half reputation of either being exactly like those Nancy players, or incredibly goofy and just f***ing around. I will admit, I don't bat an eye when I see a Steve, but my timbers are sufficiently shivered when I see a full prestige Nancy in my lobby. Lore fact number 11. Holy shit, like from Stranger Things. The Demogorgon's weapon is its deadly claws, named in the game as Barbarous Claws. While barbarous simply means savagely cruel and exceedingly brutal, there is also a double meaning if you've watched season 1 of the show, as there is a character who many liked called Barb. She was Nancy's quote-unquote nerdy friend, and ended up being taken and killed at the hands of the Demogorgon, which the name of the claws could be hinting at. And that's all I gotta say for the Demogorgon, really. He's a fun character, and he's got a fair power that fits and accurately represents the creature from the show. Aesthetically, the model is pretty great and the animations are wicked too. The Mori is quite brutal, and Steve and Nancy are amazing additions to the game, alongside their various cosmetics from the show. The chase music is godly, and the menu theme is beautiful. They combined the Stranger Things theme and the Dead by Daylight theme and just kinda made it all 80s and amazing. It really is fantastic. The map is okay as well. It's really cool aesthetically, and there are a lot of little fun Easter eggs and stuff, but sometimes I find it gets really palette heavy and kind of confusing with the sliding doors that don't open. So for demo, I'm gonna have to say 8.5 out of 10. Maybe, just maybe sometime in the future we may see Hopper or Joyce and maybe even Vecna from the show. Would be pretty sweet. I genuinely wouldn't mind if they did a second Stranger Things chapter. Anyways, thanks for watching. I owe my life to Bippin for bringing me back, but I still don't like the fact that he killed me before and is forcing me to do his dirty work. For that, I'm gonna keep feeding this demo dude some more meat. You know, in spite. There you go. Who's a good boy? Huh. You know, I kinda get it now. Despite this creature being a ravenous, threatening beast filled with bloodlust, I think I'm starting to see the appeal of reducing him to the status of a cute little doggy. I was confused at first as to why people attributed this quite off-putting predator with a cutesy naming convention, but now that I think of it, us humans have been doing this for a while now, haven't we? It's the same reason we take a fancy to those strange, scrungly little kittens, or end up growing affection for the uglier, more rejected side of humanity's judgment. It's a strange phenomena. However, I think it's kind of growing on me.
Are you feeding him meat? What the f***? I told you to feed him only carrot slices!
So what? It's clearly carnivorous.
You moron. It has a taste for flesh now. You've doomed us all.
No. No. Well then. I guess you can say Snippin bit off more than he could chew. In all seriousness though, thanks for watching. I got Snippin to craft this video since I'm still knee-deep in school slop, especially as I approach the end of the semester. Thanks for waiting again, hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Back to burying Snippin again.